Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are waiting, thank you very, 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 very much for waiting. We had some very uh, crazy technical difficulties that we were working through, and we finally got all of those resolved, and we're up and we're live and we're ready to rock today. This was such a important masterclass that I want to make sure that we give it due justice because the content in here has the potential to change somebody's life. Whoever's listening right now, whoever's watching this, whether you're doing watching in the live stream or you're watching after the fact, this is probably one of the most pivotal out of all the master classes that I have done and do. Um, to help people establish a direction in their life and help people to look forward into making a vision for your life. And this one is a little bit more theory than I like. Typically my preference is that we always have something that's incredibly tangible, active that we can just ground pound and get moving forwards in a really very, very meaningful direction. But this one is slightly different in the way that there is a lot of information that you need to know while you get after the actual task of getting things done. And guys, if I start sweating, it is just really hot in this space. So just bear with me, okay? If I have to wipe the sweat off the top of my brow while I'm working, just bear with me because it is very, very warm where I am today. And so guys, thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to the content that we're going to be able to go through together, and I hope it's very meaningful as you listen in. And now we are working on becoming a strong leader, transitioning from that manager position to our leader position. And if there's one thing that I can think of that is pivotal, more important than anything else for a leader, is that they must have a vision, and they have to have a vision for the future. I remember that lonesome dove scene at the very end when the news reporter is talking to Robert Duvall, right, on the horse way out in the middle of, he had just come back on that journey up from the north down back to South Texas, and he was telling them that, hey, he's just revisiting the whole journey that he had just made with this lifelong friend, and he actually buried him along the journey back, and there was a reporter there, and the reporter says, man, they say you're a man of vision. And he was like, man, what vision? But he really was a man of great vision. He and his friend, they had this idea. They lived a long life. They were in law enforcement, and then they ran out the criminals from that part of the states, and they had a long history of investing themselves in some way. But then at the very end, they're like, you know what? We can still do something else great. And they were one of the first ones that made that cattle drives from South Texas all the way up to, I think, Montana, if I remember their destination correctly. And he's on his horse. He's down there in South Texas, and the news reporter's like, "Oh man, I came here to report on this incredible story about you guys, and people say you're men of vision." And he was like, "Man, what a vision!" And so, guys, you and I have the potential to create and do unbelievably impactful, powerful things that we want to do, that we never maybe even thought that we could do, that we wished upon a star. If we could wish and do something, we would do that thing. And we have the potential to be able to do way more than we currently do in many people's cases. And we don't, for many different reasons. People have baggage. People have different challenges they're facing. People have socioeconomic issues that we have to work through. People have psychological issues, family issues, friend issues, your great uncle Earl issues, whatever the issues are, they're there. And we acknowledge those things. And as we get into this content today, I really want to make sure that you understand that I definitely acknowledge the fact that there is baggage, and there are challenges, and there are things that you are going to face in your life that are hard and that are painful, and that that might hinder you from going forwards. But it is those exact people that change the world. It is those exact people who have had the worst past that have moved mountains in our history. And you may be the very next one who is the one to make that big mountain moving change in our world. And that's why I do this specific masterclass, because if people latch onto this content and then you actually do it, and then you move forward with the steps required through the next master classes that I'm going to be holding and talking about how to put work clothes on, the thing that we're talking about today, then you actually can move mountains in your life and the lives of those around you in incredibly meaningful and powerful ways. So guys, it's about daring to dream, dreaming bigger, not reckless, but way bigger. Reckless can be too small, and reckless can be too off of who you are as a person, who your culture is, or who you were raised in, the environment you were raised in. Like, if you are way far off, it can be reckless. If you're too small, I just want to become the best piano player in my hometown. Well, why not the region? Why not the state? Why not the country? Heck, and after that, the world, right? Because those opportunities out there really do lie for those who invest themselves. So don't dream too small, but also make sure you're not dreaming off of you simply because you see somebody on television do something great. You're like, man, I could do that. I could do that way better than they are. And I really want to do that. But that's not even in your wheelhouse. You actually don't even really want to do that. You just admire them for the characteristics that got them to that area of their lives, or that place in their life. And you're like, oh my gosh, I want that too. But maybe it's not even the thing that they're doing. It's actually the discipline, the character, and the impact that they had. And you also want to have an impact. And so don't be off you in your dreaming. Now, I say dreamers, black. Why? Why are dreamers blacky? Because you look on dreamers and you're like, gosh, he's just another dreamer. Big talker, like we say in South Texas. Big hat, no cattle. He has a really big hat, cowboy hat. He doesn't have any cows. Like, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. He's just talking and steaming on. And those type of people, they never get anywhere. They never do anything. And you don't want to be one of those type of people, which is why you're in this masterclass today, to actually get the vision established and then charge forwards. Too many lives suffer from a lack of greater purpose and clarity. Too many lives. If you're in a room of 10 people, it's likely that 9 of them have no clear direction of where they want to go in life at all. Very, very little. I think the statistics are like 7 out of 10 people, they go to college and they never use anything that they went to college for. I listened to a study of students who spent 45 minutes working on their vision for their life before they went to college, and their graduation rates and their grades were exponentially higher than all of the rest of the students that entered the classes that year. Choosing a direction and moving in that direction and a vision for your life is one of the most powerful and life-moving things that you can do. Too many teams suffer from visionless leaders and managers. I've seen leaders out there say, well, we just need to make money. That's no vision at all. You're not doing anything to change the world, make the world a better place, or help anybody besides yourself. That's no vision. That's simply a selfish, self-feeding effort. And that is short-lived. And that won't withstand the challenges and the storms that's going to come in life that are going to hit you again and again and again. And because you're just there for the money, or you're just there for a very superficial purpose, you can't withstand those storms. And that's what we have to get through. That's what we as leaders, you don't get to be a leader if you have no vision for the future, for what can be. Today, we're going to help establish your vision. My name is Jason Ellinger. I'm the CEO of Taika Translations and TVP Team. TVP Team is the Vision People team. It was so important to me in my life that there was a vision established and a direction that we were charging forward in, that despite the baggage that I had, we had to accomplish something meaningful. Life had to mean more than the crap that we've been through. It had to mean more than that. It had to be more meaningful to me. I had to be able to create something greater than myself. And by now, we've made a multi-million-dollar company in Taika Translations, and TVB team is up and coming in that very same thing. And if you would, please like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss the other master classes coming out, helping people understand the content that we're talking about and how to move forwards in it. Because I was at a very dark place about, gosh, it was about 12 years ago, when it was a very, very painful place in my life. Actually, 11 years ago. And there was a moment where everything that I built to that point crumbled. It was completely broken, completely crumbled. We were sitting down at the ashes. It's like, how do you bounce back? Well, when you hit the bottom, you freaking just splat. There's no bouncing. You just splat. And there you lay until you get some vision for the future and charge forward into it. And so it was at that time where I've got some really key books, and I really started to lean into like, okay, life's got to be more than this pile of crap that I'm in today. What the heck? What the heck do I do next? And so we established a vision for the future, and we said, you know what? Maybe we could create something. Maybe we could create a company that did this and has this impact. And I talked with my wife about it. And we're like, maybe we could do this together. And my wife was like, you know what? I really think we can do that. And I was like, man, do you really think we could do something like that? It's like, yeah. And so lo and behold, we go forward in that process. Not only did we achieve that within the next 12 months, but then we looked further and we said, you know what? If we've achieved this, we can go there. And then we got there and went past that. And then we said, you know what? If we could achieve this, we could even go further. And we got there and beyond that. And we kept hitting these goals and moving forwards and upwards and creating this trajectory of winning over time. It's created an incredible outcome for ourselves, for our clients, and for the team members that work with us now, and the contractors. That it's an energizing environment. It's an energizing life to live. And that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to wake up with energy, getting out of bed, knowing that you're doing something meaningful in a direction that matters to you. And if it matters to you, then it matters to the people around you because they love you. And if you don't have anybody around you that love you, if you're heading in a certain direction of prosperity and moving in a direction that's making your life better, then you need to get some other people around you. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyways, my name is Jason Engler. Like our channel, subscribe, and please be with us for each and every masterclass. I'm going to tell you how to put workflows on what we're doing today in the very next one. So where do we start? We start with understanding some very important realities. This is very, very powerful in the realm of visioneering for your life, creating that vision that makes things move. If you have no vision, you will suck at your first grasp, and you should be okay with that. Okay, most people in their lifetime have never created a vision for their life. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I have to create the perfect version of my vision the very first time, or the rest of my life is going to suck. No, that is not the case. You have to establish a direction and move forwards. And over time, we will get clearer and clearer. But we don't worry about that at first. You will be really, really bad at this thing. And that's okay. When you start budgeting, you get a budget, you write down everything that you spend your money on, and then you're like, okay, this is what I spend my money on. I just made my first budget. You share it with your spouse, so your friend are like, hey, this is my first budget. And then you go like 15 days, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even live anything like what's on that budget I wrote. I thought I did, but that's not even close. And it takes you about 3 to 4 months of learning to budget before you actually become anything close to being good at doing a budget. And so the same goes with visioneering, with creating that vision for your life. You're going to be bad at it at first, and that's okay. The thing is that we've got to start the process. And when you start the process, you get the wheels turning in your mind and your heart, and you get alignment, and then all of a sudden you're making progress in ways that you could never imagine. But it has to start with the understanding that at first it's not going to be the perfect version, and that's just fine. Having a vision for your life will make you ultimately and continually happy. That is absolutely not true. Some people say if I have a vision for my life, every day I wake up with rainbows and sunshine all in my environment, and it will just be this amazing and happy environment, and everything will be glowing all around me all of the time, and it should be energizing every single day, and I should not to have to deal with anything unpleasant and anything that I hate. And that is as far from the truth as is any realistic thing in your life. Like that, there is some connection with you being less unhappy when you're working towards a vision, but there are moments that you're going to have to face challenges that you have to overcome in order to make that vision become a reality in your life. And you will be very uncomfortable and very unhappy as you work through that, because you have to learn something new. You have to do something much more uncomfortable. You have to be somebody you aren't, or learn some skills from somebody that you aren't, so that you can understand how to work through this next challenge in your life. And then you can later on bring some other team members in to come kind of bolster that effort, right? But for a while, you're going to have to do a lot of this stuff by yourself. And because we're working on the personal vision for your life, you just have to realize that it's not an ultimatum for making you completely happy all the time, every day, forever. It's something that gives you the secret sauce to continue when going gets tough, and reminds you why the heck you're doing this in the first place. And that's why it's so important to remember that it's not something that will make you happy. Something that will make you less happy and make your life more meaningful, and actually that you accomplish something that you really want in your life. But it's not something that eliminates all gray or bad days. You'll be most happy and fulfilled when you're pursuing a future desired reality. So when you're working towards this incredible and magnificent vision that you've created for your life, you will be most happy and fulfilled, and you will encounter trouble. And it's going to give you the energy. It's going to be the energizing factor behind how you can get up in the morning and keep going when the going gets tough. All right, let's move forward. We are hardwired in this way. If you freeze and you retreat, it's a very negative emotion. If you advance towards something, even if it's terribly difficult, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I can see it. It's really dark. I'm falling over these things in my way, but I'm still making progress, and I can see that as soon as I get there, there's going to be light, and I can get out into the fresh air. I can feel the cool breeze, and I can see the sunshine, and I can actually see the trail ahead of me. But right now, it's a little dark. But still, I can have some joy in my life, because I know just down the road, a little bit further down the road, I'm advancing towards something that is positive and meaningful to me. We're hardwired the way to when there's a negative and very unpleasant situation, that we freeze or we retreat. But we're also hardwired the way that if we're advancing towards a goal and we're having to endure unpleasant things, then it produces a very positive mentality and mindset for us. All right, so there's a chain reaction that you need to know about, which is why I wanted to share that with you as we're going through this visioneering process. And that's why some of this is a little bit more theoretical, so that you can understand kind of the breadth behind this, so that we can actually get to making the vision. When you have no goal, no journey, and no vision, no positive emotions, you have that freeze, retreat, negative, right? No positive emotion about life that manufactures enthusiasm. When you have no enthusiasm, you create confusion, because you have no goal, no vision for the future. And when you have confusion, when you have confusion and hopelessness, it creates anxiety and dread. And if you're in this Anxiety and dread is because you have confusion, and because you have confusion because you now have no enthusiasm. You have no enthusiasm because you have no vision for your life, and you're not making forward progress towards a thing that matters to you, or you don't believe that you can anymore. And I'm here to say to you that you absolutely can, and you will, but you have to get started today. An old woman once asked the financial teacher, she's like, "Am I too old to save money?" And he looked at her and he's like, "Not if you're still sucking wind." So are you too old to make a vision for your life and move forward in it? I got the same words for you. Not if you're still sucking wind. Now, if this chain reaction is a reality in your life, and I'm sorry, I'm pointing to the other screen over here because that's where I see the slideshow. If this chain reaction is a reality in your life, what kind of a leader do you think you're going to be able to be? Do any of these things sound like a great leader? Lack of enthusiasm, confusion and hopelessness, anxiety and dread. If that describes you, I've got news for you today. There is hope for you. And that's why I hope you're in this masterclass today. I'm doing this masterclass right now for you, because this is where we transition. We make a decision to move from living a visionless life that doesn't matter to us or the people around us, to moving forward in a direction that genuinely matters and creates a future for where we're going and what we're going to accomplish in this life. It really matters, and you can do it. You can accomplish something meaningful. You can leave an impact. You can leave a legacy because of the content that we're working through today, and your decision right now to take that and move forward with it. No leader is in this condition. And that's why the very next step in our leadership masterclass series, this one, had to be working on creating your personal vision for your life. Okay, next. So what do we do? One, we do not go to Mount Everest. We do not go to sit on a mountaintop in Tibet and meditate and try to find ourselves in our vision. We don't do that. Two, we don't overcomplicate it. We don't get so complicated with this whole ordeal that we can't make progress. So many times, the very first step in our lives that's going to produce any meaningful change starts with a very small and very intentional step forward. And just like in budgeting, the very first step, you have to go through a process to build wealth. And you have to write down a very simple plan. This is how much I make. This is how much I think I spend every month. Now let's measure that. And over the next 3 or 4 months, right, you get to measure those things. Then you find out, okay, is this working? Is this not? Am I accurate? It's very small, very simple. But as you work on it and work on it and work on it, invest in it and try to get better, it comes to life and creates incredible fruit and lasting wealth. And so that's what I hope for you in this webinar today. So we start, third thing that we do is we start with where we are. We don't start 10 years down the road. We don't start with where we wish we were. We don't start with where we think we should be by now. We start with where we are. Admiral Stockdale, he was a Vietnam pilot shot down a prisoner of war. He said, you have to accept the reality of today while never losing hope that in the future that this entire experience is going to become one of the most defining moments of your life to forward you into the vision that you have, that God has created you to accomplish. My computer screen is glitching here a little bit. So we start with where we are, and we address the reality of where we are. And if we're small, we start small. Never despise small beginnings. There are two powerful emotions that we have to deal with all along the way, and you've got to get both of them on your side. One is the powerful emotion of what you would like to be true. The powerful emotion of what you would like to be true in your life, about you, about your work, about your finances, about where you're going, about your passions, your goals for life, and your desires on what you want to accomplish. Those things those positive emotions, like, oh man, I really want to do this, and it kind of gives me some energizing factors. But there's also a very, and I think even maybe more powerful emotion that so many of us negate, and we don't use it to our benefit, and that is, what is the catastrophe you are pursuing through inaction? And that is a question I want you to think about for a second. You're pursuing something through inaction in the area of your life that matters to you. One very stark example: you would like to be thinner. What are you pursuing through inaction? You're pursuing being overweight. I'm not saying that everybody's listening to this masterclass is doing that, but you're pursuing, because you're being inactive, you're pursuing that, and that's a negative thing on your life. It's producing a very negative emotion. Both are useful and very influential towards your goal or towards your vision. But you have to get both of them behind you, lifting you, not in front of you, hindering you. And what I mean by that, with the example of the person who's overweight and not exercising, is to have a dialogue. If I was having a dialogue with this person and they were talking to me, how can I lose weight, or how can I improve? And I would say, well, what would you like to be true about yourself? And then we would go through that. And then I would continue, and I would say, okay, so just imagine you don't do any of that. None of it. Absolutely nothing. And in fact, you stay like you are, and you develop some other negative habits. And because you're in this condition and your knees are starting to hurt, and maybe your hips start to hurt, or you start to get back problems because you're continuing to be more overweight, you get more pain. So you move less. So let's fast forward 10 years from now. What does that look like? You look like a hot mess. You look like a freaking hot mess. You got joint problems. You get maybe even having some high cholesterol. Maybe you're getting towards the diabetic zone. Maybe you're having some problems with your joints, right? And this is very, very bad. Paint that picture in your mind for yourself. What is the catastrophe if I don't take action towards the thing I want to happen in my life? What is the catastrophe that I am currently pursuing through inaction? And that is a question that so many of us have to answer. I had to answer it, and I continually have to answer that for myself as we move through the different stages. And I want you to take some time and really think about, what is the catastrophe that I am pursuing, that in an area of my life that matters to me, but I'm pursuing that through inaction. And now your effort in all of this is to make sure that the positive emotion, what I want to be true, is lifting you, but also the negative emotion is behind you, like, get your butt moving. Let's go. Let's change some stuff in our lives. Let's make it happen so that we can move our life in a forward direction. Get both of these behind you, lifting you, not in front, hindering you. We can't look at those and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sad. It's very, very, very sad that I'm in such a condition. It may be the reality. Who cares? We start with where we are. Remember the last slide? We don't start 10 years ahead. We don't start 3 years ahead. We start here. And maybe I feel overweight. Maybe I feel like I don't have enough money. Maybe I'm not living on a budget, and I have no plan for exercise whatsoever, and I'm eating some crap more often than I should. That's fine. We start right here, and we make the decision today to move forward in a direction that causes our life to produce the most incredible and a meaningful thing that we could possibly do in multiple areas. Now this masterclass goes hand in hand with next week, so make sure you don't miss it, because it's very, very important. By the way, if you have any comments at all or any questions for me as we move through the material today, please drop them in the comment box. I would love to hear from you, and I absolutely love to answer any very specific questions about you have for you in your life, so that you can move things forwards. And if you're watching this after the live session, please drop us a comment anyways, and I will be more than happy to work with you to get your answers to you as you follow through with making those comments. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of that, and that you have access to our team, to us helping you be able to move forwards. And so just make sure you drop a comment in, and we'd be more than happy to hopefully encourage you on your journey. All right, a mistake not to make. Don't quench the spirit. Just because it's reality doesn't mean there's an alternate factor here. Just because we can't see, touch, and feel our spirit, it is there. Just because you can't see your brain, we know it's there because of the impact it has on our body. I have these motor skills, right? I can move my body because of all the stuff that's happening in my brain right now, right? We know it's there. Life, there is a spiritual side of life, and you have to acknowledge that. And I'll talk about that a little bit later in the second to last slide. So know that you are hardwired with all the things that you experience, that you have going on in your life, the actual day-to-day activities, and you're endowed with a spirit that brings it all to life and makes it powerful and meaningful. This is very important, to not make the mistake to think that it's only all the things experienced. There is a spiritual aspect to this, and we have to acknowledge that it's a reality and make sure that we include this understanding in our forward movements. Now, exercise for you. If you're at this stage of this masterclass today, and you're watching through this content, this is the moment where you take out a piece of paper, go to a place where nobody's going to interrupt you, and you take 40 minutes and you work on the answer to these questions. And you write down, who could or would I be if I could be whoever I wanted to be? Now, I'm going to talk about some rules about how we have to frame some of this after this, so stick with me. Next question is, what could or would I do if I could do whatever I wanted to do? And what could and would I have if I could have anything I want to have? And if I don't do or become any of that, what would the outcome be? What kind of hell would that be that I lived in if none of that were true? So the first three questions, they're focusing on the positive emotion, and the next questions, they're focusing on the negative emotion to help get that behind you, lifting you forwards. Now listen, these questions are not easy to answer. I realize that. I've worked through this myself, but so many people have never gone through the exercise of what's on this slide. You think, oh, maybe it's too selfish. You know what is too selfish? Not ever living out your potential for those around you. You know, that's freaking selfish. You have so much more potential, so much more to give, so much more that you could invest in this life, and you're doing nothing with it. And you could change the freaking world. You could change your neighborhood. You could change your home. You could change the environment that you work in. You could change so many things, and you do nothing. That's the cost of not establishing these things in your life. And you're dead freaking weight if you don't have a clear answer to these questions. So you're going to go through and you're going to answer every single one of these questions. As long as the answer takes, as long as it is. It doesn't matter. It's you. The important thing is that you get your answer, your true answer, not what you think your mom wants you to be, not what you think your dad wants you to be, not what you think somebody else in the world wants you to be. What could and would you do if you could be whoever you want to be? And the truth is, in the social context, you can be any of that. But you can't, and you don't have any ability to be any of that if you don't start and you don't identify what the heck it is. Now, again, I talked about transitioning this to work clothes. That's not what this web masterclass is about. This masterclass is about you getting on paper and some a plethora of understanding about getting on paper what the heck it is you want to do in life and answering these questions for you, having a comprehensive, very clear, and true to you answers about these things so that you can actually live out the potential that you were created to live out. And yes, I'm a Christian, so I believe in God, and I believe God created us to do awesome stuff. So that's why I say that. When you're created beings, that's what I'm referring to. And so if you could do, have, or be, or anything that you wanted to do, which you can, what would that be? Write it down. Write it down. As long as that takes you to write it down, write it down. Take that for, I mean, as many words as you need, but take about 40 minutes, not even a full hour. It shouldn't even take you that, but 40 minutes of concentrated. I don't have my phone. My kids aren't crawling all over me. I'm sitting here alone and I'm thinking. And I'm really thinking about the answer to that question. Am I answering that thing? What if you don't know what you want? That's a big question. What if you don't know what you want? All right. Well, you can start by understanding some things that you like and some things that you don't like. Do you think family is nice? Do you want to have a family? You're single. Do you think it's nice? Okay. Do you value that? Well, actually, yeah, family is kind of a good thing. I'd like to have a family. Okay. Do you think having money is a good thing? Is a positive thing and helps you to do things that you otherwise might not be able to do if you had a little more of it? Okay. Okay, that can go into it. We can write something down for these things. What if you think it's a positive or a negative thing, okay, write it down and then talk about it for a second. Write it so you can clearly understand what you think about that and how like what is your perspective on that that area of life, and do that for multiple areas of your life, not just not just your work, not just your family life, but all of it, right? I'm going to talk about this again in the next slide, and that's why I'm kind of reserving a little bit, because if I do it now, if I tell you about it all right now, it will kind of be a little too confusing and too hard to catch, and the webinar would go on for like the masterclass would go on for like 2 hours, and that's not what I want to do. So nobody has 2 hours to sit here and just listen to a guy talk. So right now, I just want you to sit and answer these questions. And if you answer these questions, if you don't know what to answer, start thinking about, okay, what are some of the things that I enjoy? What are some things that I would like to see more of in my life? What are some of the things that I'm very happy when I'm going and doing those things? What are some of the things that bring me great joy? Our children is quiet, peace and quiet. Is hunting? Is it being outdoors? Is it being indoors? Is it music? Is it what are the things that make life beautiful to me? More beautiful than not. And start answering that. And as you work through those answers, you'll be able to say, okay, well then that kind of leads into, I would like to kind of be more of that. Okay, now we have something, and we can start explaining and kind of extrapolating those answers. So if you can take these answers and answer them, like for me, these are questions that I can go through and answer almost intuitively. Like I'm like, okay, this is what I want more of. This is what I want to be like. This is what I want to have. This is what I'm, and so I'm very direct like that. But I understand that not everybody is like that. And some people need a little bit more room when they're working on establishing what their vision is for their life. Do I want a family? Do I want to go on a mission? Do I want to be somebody known who is what? Who do you want to be known as is another question that you can use to help you understand what characteristics or things that you would like to have more of in your life. Okay, who do you want to be known as by your friends, by your social circles, right? So take these questions and answer them very clearly. We establish what we want to get away from, and we establish what we're going to move towards. By answering these questions, we do these two critical things for our lives. When we can establish what we want and what we kind of want to move away from, we are now able to start understanding how we're going to move in a much more forward direction, doing something meaningful to us. Remember, it has to be meaningful to us, not to everybody else, not what we think would be meaningful for someone somewhere in the world. It has to actually be real and meaningful to us. So here's some important guidelines. And I promised I was going to tell you about these when I got into the last slide in the questions. So I want to make sure that you understand these things in accordance with those questions. The answers to these questions must be reasonably wise. Okay, so if you're 4 feet tall, probably not going to be a basketball superstar. Okay, that's just the fact of life. It's a reality, and you've got to deal with that. Unless they come up with some kind of elongation of humans surgery in the future, and now you can become as tall as you want to be or as short as you want to be, whatever. You're probably not going to the NBA. We gotta be reasonably wise with our answer. If you have no vocal talent whatsoever, well, in this day and age, that might actually change because you got AI. Maybe you can just mix your voice with some AI technology, and all of a sudden you become a prodigy. I don't know, but in the grand scheme of things, if you want to become an opera singer and you absolutely have zero voice that you can turn into opera voice, you have a bass voice, you're probably not going to be singing the opera. So we have to be very reasonably wise in our answers to those previous questions. This would be unwise if you said, I want to be an opera singer, and you absolutely have no voice. And there's no way that your physical condition can withstand that pressure of singing at that level. So that's not wise. That would be shooting yourself in the foot. That would be setting yourself up for failure. And that would be causing you greater depression and stress in your life instead of moving you in a forward direction. So we don't get to choose whatever the heck we want. We have to choose wisely. So that's what I would encourage you with today. Be true to you and be real in your answers. Be clear and real to yourself. I don't know how many times I talk to different leaders. One of the biggest mistakes that so many of leaders make is you want to try to be cool. You want to try to be accepted. You want to try to be somebody that's kind of in the group all the time. But the reality is you can't be. And in this situation, when you're working on the vision for your life, the vision for your life, if you want something greater and far more meaningful than where you are right now, if you want to do something now, if you're in this position where you're in a really great spot, you've got a really great community surrounding you, and you're actually moving in a forward direction, that's great. You still answer the questions, you still proceed. But if you're in a community that's really negative and really parasital, it's probably going to mean that you're going to have to move away from that. And you don't consider any of that when you're working on the answers of those questions. You answer the questions about you and your life. What do you want to be real? And I think it just, when I think about it, it just gets me choked up a little bit, because Henry Ford said it best. He said, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you are correct. If you think you can, if you think you can't, you're correct. And I think that almost sums up the whole masterclass. So many people are suffering because they don't believe anymore that they can do greater things and they can achieve greater heights than they are today. And what I want to tell you today is you can and you will, but you've got to get started. All right. Be aspirational and snatch the dream from the midst. We have to take it out of the mist. This ether that's floating around us. Oh, this man, I would do that one day if I could. I would lose weight one day if I could. I would create this big thing. I would have a company. I would change the world in this specific way. I would influence lives in this very particular way. Man, I'd love to be a counselor or help people. All these. Let's start. Let's create a vision. Decide the dragon we're going to slay, and let's start. And starting by answering these questions. So be aspirational and snatch your dream from the mist of your life. We've got to get it out of this lack of clarity and into reality so that we can take action. So there was a young boy who was homeschooled in a small town in the South. And when I think back on that story, it chokes me up because so many things that I thought were not able to be true. So that's okay. So this is my story. I wanted to be a very, very young in life. I wanted to be a vet. I thought, man, I just would be the best thing in the world to be a vet. And then I wanted to be a hermit because I liked hunting and fishing. And I wanted to live out in the mountains and do nothing, just like Jeremiah Johnson. Worked into the mountains, aiming to forget all the troubles he left behind, yada, yada, yada. That was like, man, he was my hero. That's what I want to do. And then I was like, you know what? Wait a minute. I actually like people. I want to become a doctor. And I want to help people, maybe heal people. Like even my name, Jason, it means healer. Like that was like, okay, is my name means healer, it means I want to okay, so I want to be a doctor so that I can influence people's life and help them. I was like, wait a minute. Okay. So I started on that path. Actually, that's where I started heading in my education. I started with degree in sciences, working on a degree in sciences. And then I was like, wait a minute, but I want to have a family and create a business and ultimately one day operate a massive, massive ranch. That's like that's gonna be my life's aspiration. And so I started with some very normal and things that I thought would be cool to do or cool to have. But as I went through life and as we started to accomplish things, as we started to move through the different stages of my life. So this was like when I wanted to be a doctor, this was like I was at 20 years old, and I was like, man, but being a doctor means for the next 12 years of my life that I am going to invest in doctoring stuff, and I won't be able to start a family until I really get out of that. And actually, it has nothing to do with what I want to do. I actually want to be a business owner, working with a team to grow something meaningful and produce a meaningful result. And ultimately, one of the biggest and massive goals in my life is I want to work on growing a 10,000 acre ranch somewhere in the States, and I haven't determined where yet. And we're not ready for that yet. But that is a stage further in my life that we've worked on growing little by little by little and thinking, you know what? Maybe that thing is possible to accomplish. No, maybe that thing is actually, if I could be anybody that I wanted to be, and that's where I really started to get clear. I want to be able to have a family. I want to have a great business and massive ranch where I can continue working and influence people's hearts and minds and lives in a very meaningful and powerful way. And so that's what we're working on. That's my life. That's everything that I'm about is that. And all the things that go in our videos, that's what it's about. Any that has any connection to that and growing and investing and prospering in any one of those sectors, that's what it's about. The family, the business, and ultimately moving into our massive branch as we have opportunity to do so. And right now, along that journey, I get to live out parts of that by having my own cattle farm. I actually have a big cattle farm that I do in addition to running our online businesses. I have a big cattle farm on the side that that was part of our vision along our journey. We just really understood that if we're going to step forward in our vision, we're going to have to take steps in learning some things and how to operate them. And so that's where we started. That meant we had to start learning how to operate a cattle farm. And so we did. And so now we do. Now we know. And we're working forward very strongly in that. But my point isn't that I want to maybe just talk about my life and share it with all of you. My point is that as you move forward in the process, and as you commit to a direction, you understand more and more clearly that your potential is vastly greater than anything you imagined to this point of your life. It's vastly greater. But you do have to clarify what the heck it is you want. And that's why I hope that's why you're in this masterclass today. You have to answer those questions. These questions on this slide right here. Take a snapshot, take a screenshot. I'll give you 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go. Now we're going for it. and then we can start moving forwards. Some things that are helpful, very, very helpful to know as you work to pursue the vision most clear to you now. You will purge out the wrong answers along the way. You saw that last slide. This is the reason I showed it to you. There were some wrong answers about what I ultimately wanted to accomplish and what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. And then we got to the right answers and we viciously pursue those. As you work towards your clearer vision, you'll find enthusiasm and it will create propulsion for the vision. Remember that chain reaction I talked about in this slide, a few slides back in the slideshow? The chain reaction, enthusiasm, anxiety, depression, all that stuff, that gets ripped out of your life because we're moving in a direction. Even though it's hard, we're moving in the direction that we want to go. A very, very powerful. And it's a powerful propulsion for your life and for your vision. The vision you're ultimately after is not big enough until it takes you a lifetime and more than yourself to fulfill. What I mean by that, it has to include other people. It has to include other people. It has to include other social connections. It has to include others. If your vision has no inclusion of anyone else and making nobody's life better in any way, shape, or form, then you need to continue working on it until it does. Because none of us get to truly meaningfully live and create incredible outcomes in this life by serving only ourselves. So it has to include making somebody's life, including yours, better in some very meaningful way. You must be very honest with yourself about what you truly want. This is not selfish. It is the greatest gift that you can give to anyone in your life. So many people I've heard say, well, it's too selfish to just decide what you want. I think it's ridiculously unselfish. I think it's ridiculously selfish to never decide what you actually want and never live out that potential. You're stealing everything that you could have given to anyone ever by not determining, not everything, but most of your best potential that you could give to so many. You're stealing that. And in fact, you're not giving your best to this world and making it a better place in any way, shape, or form. And because of that, you're retracting the greatest gift that you could bring to this life. And I got it. I understand that there's so much baggage in people's lives, and sometimes it's challenging to get there. But we have to start with today. Once you have the answers to the questions, the next thing you have to do is this. Have a dialogue with someone you trust about the answers. The person you trust must be doing something meaningful and aspirational with their lives. Don't ask your great Uncle Earl if he lives in a mobile home down by the river and got a pile of trash all around his house. That's not who we talk to about our future vision. Don't ask somebody who's never accomplished anything and is doing absolutely nothing meaningful or aspirational. Don't talk to them about this future vision, because it's obvious by the nature of their life that they're going to keep you there, and they want you to stay in the exact same conditions that they're in. Because once people start to move up and out of the conditions that their surroundings are in, all of a sudden there's a problem. So don't go talk to those people by any means, but do have a dialogue with people that you actually can trust. Dialoguing with multiple trusted people will give you even better clarity on your answers. So go have some conversations. You can't build great vision and life all on your own with absolutely no input from anyone else. You can't do it. You write it down and you go talk to other people about the answers. Say, hey, look, this is something that I'm working through. I'm establishing a vision for my life. They'll be like, what the heck is a vision for your life? Just like, go watch that guy on YouTube. They'll show you what a vision is about. They'll talk to you about vision. And I'm establishing a vision for my life. And he's told me that I have to go talk to you about the answers because I deeply trust you and I really like your feedback. Have that question. Ask somebody. They will feel very honored And he said, I can't talk to anybody that's not doing anything meaningful and aspirational. And when I look at you, I see your life, I see you doing meaningful, aspirational things. And I'd really like to get your input. And it's like, whoa, okay, let's talk. Let's have some coffee. Like maybe we can meet a couple times to talk about this because it's very important. It's the outcome of your life, it's the essence of everything that you do. Have at least one dialogue with a member of the opposite gender. So at least, so go talk to people and have at least one dialogue with a person from the opposite gender because you will get a completely different perspective on your answers. Just make sure it's people you can trust. Listen, if you don't have anyone in your life that you can trust, you have to go find them. And that might be your very first task. Your actually boots on the ground task after the actual defining of your vision for you. After you've sat there and you defined your vision and you've clearly put on paper what it is that you want to accomplish in life and where you want to go, your very next step is finding people that you can trust to talk to about it. And then go have those conversations. 2-3 conversations with people about the things that matter to you in your life that are actually from people who are actually aspirational, who are actually doing something with their life, and you can deeply trust them to not go around and share your information and be all stupid with your life's essence. Like, make sure you can actually trust them, and then go have those conversations. Here's a pro tip: people you can and should trust are so rare that you must choose very, very wisely. I want to make sure you hear that message. You can't just choose anyone. You can't just choose your neighbor. Maybe you have a good neighbor and you can, and that's great. But you can't just check this item off the list. It actually has to be someone who's doing something meaningful. And again, those people are busy and they're hard to find. And I understand that. So that's why your first task may be finding somebody to talk to about this. And that may be the hardest part about everything here in this masterclass today. But it is very, very necessary. Without that dialogue, you can't get further clarity. And without further clarity, you don't move forwards. This whole process is about snatching from the mist, snatching that dream from the sky. Remember, you don't want to just be a dreamer. Big hat, no cattle. Like, just stop talking already. Like, actually snatch the dream out of the sky, make it a little more clear, get some clarity by bouncing it off of your trusted social network, not Facebook, for Christ's sake. Actual real in-person conversation, and then make sure that you actually can trust the people that you're talking to your vision about. They're so rare that you have to choose very, very wisely. So immediately after establishing this vision, you'll be hit with the requirement of adding and subtracting. Once you've established the vision, you'll need to move forward to goals, to actual action steps that suck you out of this mist into boom. Now I have to do something. And now what? Those goals will require adding, and they will require subtracting. I'm going to add these things in my life. Maybe me being able to do something great is going to cause me to have to be in better shape. So I'm going to have to add some space in my life for extra working out, and I'm going to have to subtract some of the bad, crappy food I'm eating. And we're going to have to go forwards that way. You'll be required to pay the price or decide what price will be to make the vision take form in your life. Remember, this is your vision for your life. So that's why you have to decide what the price that you are going to pay is to start working and accomplishing the thing. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Next week in the masterclass, join me for that, and we'll talk more about this to make it crystal clear what exactly you need to do. But right now, you just need to understand that there is an adding and there is a subtracting phase as we work forwards. The price of your vision. Like, what is the price of the vision? Everything. That's the price. Your entire rest of your life. Time and money, relationships, your mind, where you set your mind daily, how you let it wander, how you just sit there on YouTube and Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat all day long just swiping. It's going to cost you that. It's going to cost you having faith that over time, if you invest this thing, it's actually going to make a change. If you eat healthy and you exercise and you work at it over time, that it's actually going to make a positive difference, even though it's still you've been doing it for 4 months and you still don't see good results. So faith and your spiritual side, it's going to take all of your resources combined. So now you're asking, well, gosh, is that even worth it? Is it even worth it to spend my whole life doing the thing I actually want? Now just think about the question for a second and you'll start to get the answer. Is it worth it to go after the things I want in life? To be who I really want to be in life? And to have an impact in the way that I really want to impact life? Is that actually worth it? You have to answer that question for yourself. Is it? Is it worth it to you? Is it worth it for you to spend your life doing the things that you really want to do? And my other question to you is, what the heck else are you going to do with a lifetime? Like literally, what the heck else are you going to do with your life if you don't spend it on the things that you really want to be a reality in your life? What are you going to do? Facebook? So answer that question and acknowledge that reality very clearly. Is it worth it? You answer that question. Is it really worth it to you? Choosing a dragon to slay sufficiently large and going about doing it in your life is the most meaningful thing that you can do. If you don't choose, life will choose for you. And when life chooses, it always chooses against you. Remember that. Okay? So if you don't choose, life will choose against you. So you must choose. My recommendation is that you choose today. So as we move a little bit forward, we're almost done, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me so far. It's already starting to stutter here. Thank you so much for sticking with me so far. I have to make a slight transition or a slight caveat for our people of faith here, because I is a people of faith. I'm a person of faith. I love Jesus. I love God. I'm an evangelistic Christian. And so many people in our Christian realms are like, you can only do ministry and you can only do things in and through the church that are meaningful, that the kind of like the church says is meaningful. And if it's not something participating in the church, then it's not meaningful. I'm like, all right, calm down, brethren. Okay, because the Bible says the Bible has much to say about vision, about setting your mind and your heart, about determining a direction. The Bible says where there's no vision, the people perish. Ask God to. So as you start this whole process, you have to ask God to guide you. Ask God to guide you. If you're a person of faith, if you're not a person of faith, at least spend some time thinking about it in a very quiet space and meditating on what it is that you actually want to the meaningful thing that you want to invest in this life is. But if you are a person of faith and you do love God and you love Jesus, then ask God to guide you through this process and to open your mind as to what it is that he wants you to be able to do. God created you in his image. He creates, grows, loves, provides, and tells us to guide and set our heart in his way, and even to plan our way. And as we plan our way, he directs all our steps. It's the crazy thing about the Christian life, right, guys? Is that as we plan and we commit that to God, he directs. He opens the doors. He directs. He providentially moves things around and creates circumstances in our lives so that we move forward in the direction that ultimately he knew we actually wanted to go through in the first place, because he created us with that very same desire. In living out the grand purpose and plan that we put into our lives and our hearts by God, by the grand weaver himself, we live out God's vision for our own lives. And people said, well, God's vision is only associated with the Bible. And I would have even agree with that, but it's not in this very small, narrow-minded way. It can extend into any occupation, in any area of, in any part, in any direction, in any area of the world, in any doing of anything. It can extend into all of it. Because God, of course, he's not one single thing. He's not just inside a single church somewhere singing hymns on Sunday morning. He's everywhere. He's omnipresent in all places and at all times. And we, as we plan our way forwards, we get to take part in that grand vision and the ultimate honor of seeing him move our lives forwards and around as we work forward through this grand vision that the grand weaver himself has put into our hearts. I believe very, very powerfully that God has put the thing that he wants us to do deep within us, and that he actually wants us to clarify what the heck that thing is and to be honest with ourselves about it so that we can be in alignment with who he is and what he's created us to accomplish. I think he's waiting for so many people out there to say, you know what, I actually want to do that. He's like, yes, I can help that one. I can help that one because that child finally got it. He finally understood what I created him for. And I can actually move his life forwards in a very powerful way. And I can actually help him through that process. But until that person has decided on the path and planned the way, God's so many times, I think he's limited in directing. He's not limited for anything, but we limit him in his ability to direct our way because he is sovereign over all, and he honors our sacred will. He says, your will for your life and your desire for what you will do and accomplish in your life is sacred. And I will not transgress that. But once you decide and you start down that path and you go on the journey and you decide that this is the path I'm going to trot on, God's going to show up and like, that's almost the path. Let's just course correct it slightly. And that's the path. And I will help you and propulse you forwards into that thing. And it's going to be amazing. And so, guys, for people of faith, it applies. And I just want to encourage you with that. Next. What is next? Take this vision and put some work clothes on it. And that's exciting to me because I hate theory that goes absolutely nowhere and does nothing. I love things that go and get stuff done. That's where the magic happens, starts to happen. We said what we wanted. Now we created this vision for our life. We have this kind of grand overarching plan. We've snatched the dream from the clouds. We've determined what it is, what the heck we want to do in our lives. Now what the heck? What do we do? And that's what next masterclass is about. And I'm very excited to talk with you about it. So I'm going to show you in our goal setting masterclass next week, and I hope you're there. You're not going to want to miss it because if you attend this one without that one, you're going to miss a big chunk of actually doing anything with this dream vision stuff. So don't miss that masterclass because it's very important, not just to sit in the dreamer stage, not just to be a Texan with one of those big cowboy hats, but he ain't got no cattle. Not to be that guy, but actually to be somebody who takes the vision and makes it plain, starts writing it down and charging forwards. So thank you so much for being with me today, for being in this masterclass. And again, I'm so sorry that we got on late and we couldn't get our technology working right at the beginning. But things as technology is, and we just gotta wing it sometimes. So thank you for sticking around to be with me through the duration of this webinar, this masterclass, and I look forward to speaking with you next week, Wednesday at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, as we work through putting work clothes on our vision and charging forwards in a very powerful and meaningful way. So thanks again. It's very meaningful to me that you are here with me today, and I look forward to serving you in the future by helping you move things forwards.